Y'all ready?
Fish Stripes Live coming at you on a Monday evening. I am Ethan Badowski, and I sound horrible, and I'm going to try and bear through it. Joining me, as always, is the usual suspects: Noah Berger, Kevin Barral, Alex Carver, Isaac Azut, and Eli Sussman is up there. A lot to get to today. Got some roster construction discussion, which I know is everybody's favorite, and got some big minor league promotions, and then we also have the return of a big name as well. But before we get to what's going on as the Marlins get ready to face Atlanta, just let's go back to this past weekend, and the Marlins absolutely throttled my lowly Cubs. It was just a absolute beatdown that the Marlins put on the Cubs as they pick up their second sweep of the season, and they sweep the Cubbies right out of Miami. Obviously, it started with that game on Friday night where they score 14 runs. They put up 11 runs in an inning. I know, Isaac, you were there, so I'll go to you first on that one. And then there was the 5-4 win on Saturday and then a 4 win on Sunday. So, Isaac, I'll start with you. Like I said, you were at the game where the offense exploded. And what were your impressions on this weekend?
The game sort of started off with, some negativity. Jesus Luzardo didn't look his best that day. He walked a bunch. He gave up a few home runs. But then as soon as we get to that second inning, a franchise record 11 runs scored, and that colossal second inning, Brian De La Cruz almost had the opportunity to pull off a Fernando Tatis. He was on deck, and if Jackson had gone on base rather than hit the home run, he would have had an opportunity to hit the 2 grand slams in that inning. But obviously that game, the offense exploded. And the next 2 games, the pitching, it was all about the pitching. Eliezer Hernandez pitched great yesterday. You got to be encouraged with him. 1 home run, allowed in the 6th inning, of course. And then the day before, Zach Thompson, another 6 innings, 1 earned run. So you got to be encouraged with the pitching. Other than Friday night, unfortunately, with Luzardo, he struggled a bit. But you know what? They came out with all 3 wins, as Kevin predicted correctly. So it was a good series overall against, let's be honest, probably a AAA team. But hey, we'll take the 3 wins.
Yeah, I mean, I ranted all I needed to rant on Friday about what the Cubs are doing and just how kind of pathetic the product that they're putting out there is just very pathetic. And I mean, they've now lost 11 in a row. It's the second time they've lost 11 in a row. And then they scored at one point after that 14-run, breakout for the Marlins. They'd allowed 41 runs in 3 games, and that's just crazy. And so, Alex, the thing I want to go to you on is what Isaac mentioned, which is Eliezer returned yesterday, and he was great. He dealt. Obviously, it hit a little bit of a speed bump in the 6th inning, but those 5 innings of work, obviously the Marlins needed another guy in the rotation. So, how valuable was that for the Marlins?
Yeah, fantastic, man. I mean, just to get some assurance as we wind down the season here in the rotation is big. Haven't had that most of the season, as all of you guys know. The biggest thing for me, and Eli was posting about this, I was posting about it as well on Twitter, is the changeup. He was throwing it in his rehab. He said to the media that he started kind of really tweaking with it with the pitching coach in Jacksonville. I posted a couple of GIFs of it in Jacksonville. It looked the same as it did last night. He's throwing it out of the strike zone with intent and getting swings and misses because of the late fade that pitch has. So makes him a different animal, man. I know a lot of people were calling for bullpen, but if he has that pitch, I think he can stay as a starter. Is there room for him to stay as a starter on the Marlins? I guess that's another conversation. But for right now, he looks good.
Yeah, Kevin, I want to go to you here. The Marlins finally, they have 4 solid names listed in. They haven't hit 5 yet, but they finally have 4, permanent in their rotation right now, which is huge. It's something that they haven't had a lot of. It's been 3 recently. So the fact that they have 4 now, what does that mean for the rotation just as they try and wind down the season and eat innings, just to help the bullpen? I'm so sorry. I sound so horrible, but Kevin, just talk about what the rotation is looking like as we wind down this season right now.
First time I go on the MLB app and I see 3 actual scheduled pitchers and not a TBD to be announced. That's the first and probably the last one we'll be seeing for a while. Hopefully not. But, I mean, it's big. You actually know who's the pitcher that's going to come up. You don't have to wait up until the last hour or 2 to say who's going to pitch for the Marlins? Is it going to be someone new? And you don't have to start making roster transactions every fourth or fifth day, whatever pitcher isn't there that day. Last time we did mention that, though, Eliezer got injured that game, so I don't want to jinx it too much. But, I mean, let's hope they all stay healthy. Braxton is scheduled, so that means they have a vote of confidence in him to keep him there as a starter. So I'm glad we actually have a core rotation. We still need that fifth guy, and I think that should be Neidert for now, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and Pablo Lopez, just on the injury front, threw a live bullpen session today, live BP session today. Sorry, which means that his next step is a rehab assignment. So he's right around the corner. He'll probably have to make 2, 3, 4 rehab starts, but September is very likely for him. So Eli, I want to take a step back because Alex mentioned, your analysis of Eliezer, and he's the guy that you've talked about a lot, and we've talked about a lot together. And I'm curious what your impressions were of him coming back and just how, what a good finish to the season would look like for him.
Yeah, it was only 9 changeups, I think, yesterday, but it felt like a lot more than that, just relative to his own standards and, how cautious he sometimes is about using it. So even that small amount made a big impact to me. He's a guy that like, along with him and Zach Thompson, I feel like they're in the same bucket where they're way too underrated by the general population. Like, all you guys are dreaming of these next prospects coming up and kind of supplanting them. And even with like the top prospects in the organization right now, I don't know if that's realistic expectation. Like, these guys are, to me, they're more than just disposable number 5 types for a team. Like, they're a little bit more complete than that. So the question is whether you keep somebody like him and somebody like Thompson in offseason, or whether they get traded to address their need, because that is definitely a possibility. With Eliezer, I want to see him, consistently mixing in that changeup, his starts through the rest of the year. Beyond that, I mean, there's always going to be some of those fastballs that, he leaves in the wrong spot and they get crushed. And
well, we lost Eli for a second. His internet was a little spotty there. So just on the fly, Daniel, I'm going to go to you. What does this Marlins rotation look like? Because obviously there's that, fifth final spot right now. Pablo, we all assume when he gets, he's going to come back in September, he's going to get that spot. But Eddie Cabrera is lingering, and we've had the discussions about what do you do with all these spots right now. And so you've got, Braxton Garrett is up right now. You assume that his spot would be taken. He's in the fifth spot. You assume that would be taken by Pablo when he gets back. So what do you do with all these arms? We had this discussion, on one of our last streams, and I mean, it's there's a big crunch right now.
Like early today, like on the field, Kim Ang came to talk to the press, and one of the questions asked was about September and some call-ups. And one person that she said that she had her eye on to bring up was Eddie Cabrera. That's one guy that she said she looked at, but she mentioned that a lot of guys aren't going to come up that are really having great seasons. And they said they probably could only bring up maybe 2 guys, and cutting that list short is going to, she said, it's going to be hard for her. And when you look at the guys, people that look up are Cabrera, Jake Eater can possibly come up, Max Meyer, and we haven't even mentioned any of the guys on the diamond playing. And it really shows how depth the Marlins have, especially in the minor league system, whether it's pitching or batting. But Eddie Cabrera was one guy that she did mention that she's looking at to bring up towards the end of the season around September. So that's one to definitely look at.
That's huge news, and I want to get back to you on that topic later when we talk about the minor leagues, because I do want to talk about the minor leagues. There was some big news down there today. But before that, Noah, I want to get you just what do you want to see at the back end of this season? Like, obviously, everybody wanted to see Cabrera, but how do you squeeze in Cabrera and Thompson and Lazardo and Sandy and Pablo and Trevor? How do you want to see this rotation look at the back end of the season? Is really what we're talking about is September.
I want to see the young guys get some good rep time. I want to see everyone get some nice playing time. I want to see our young outfielders, our young infielders, Bryson Brigman. Please, God, bring them up already. I want to see the guy getting reps. On the starting pitcher front, I think you just go with the 25-man rotation and just go to heck with it. Because that's the only way you can really fit them in is to just keep going through them. But other than that, which I assume will never ever happen, I don't know. Maybe you just rotate out a few guys. If Trevor's arm is starting to wear out, or if someone's arm is starting to wear out, you rest them for the rest of the season. Although I would like to see Trevor make a good push for Rookie of the Year, but again, I don't want to sacrifice his arm for next year. But I'd like to see young guys get some good reps in.
Yeah, Trevor, that Rookie of the Year conversation is an interesting one because Jonathan India Gator is setting the world on fire right now, and Patrick Wisdom has been great too. And as good as Trevor's been, I think people are kind of forgetting about how good Trevor's been because he hasn't pitched in a while. But Daniel, I want to go to you because you were there. So first of all, the question on the screen right now, I'm sure if she talked about September call-up, somebody asked about Max or Eater. Did Kim Eng say anything about those two guys?
She didn't really mention anything like that. She mentioned just how depth the pitching staff is in the minors. They have a plethora of guys, and she mentioned that maybe in September 2 guys that she's looking at for a call up amid all those guys. And I would say maybe one would be Eddie Cabrera, and the next one I would say probably maybe someone in the infield, someone like that. But she said she's looking at maybe 2 guys, and she mentioned that in the pitching staff there's probably 8 to 10 guys that she would like to bring up, but she can only probably bring up 2. And Eddie Cabrera was mentioned as a guy that she really has her eye on, and someone maybe the team is looking at to bring up in September. And then for the next spot, if it is a pitcher, it would probably have to be either Eater or Max. I would probably, it just really depends on maybe their preference. Do they want to give Max some opportunities? And like what Craig Mish said a couple weeks ago about the trade opportunity that they had with the Angels, and if he performs well in September, that could probably bring his price up, and maybe the Angels want to give a little more on that front towards the winter meeting. So I would say Eddie Cabrera and maybe Max Meyer would be a name to also look at for September. It could be also Jake Eater, but I will go with Eddie and Max.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about from pregame today is, was there any update on Trevor? Monday, beginning of a new week, usually there would be an update, but have you heard any?
I haven't heard anything at all. The main thing that came up was Jesus Sanchez being active and the DFA of Devin Marrero, which seems like it's probably his 5th one this month already. But that's just the only one. No one really mentioned about Trevor. I think maybe it's still a touchy subject within the organization, and people probably want to give it another week or so. Nothing really on the front of Trevor right now. For me right now, I'm just trying to find Noah. I'm trying to see where he's at, see if I can spot him.
Anyway, the next thing I want to go to is kind of that roster construction, right? So you talk about, Jesus Sanchez comes back up, and obviously I think that's great. That's something that Marlins fans have been looking forward to. You don't have to see Alfaro forced out in left field anymore, and people just want to evaluate Jesus Sanchez. So let's take this time to evaluate it. I think this is a good chance to kind of reset, as he comes back and kind of take a look at what we saw from him. So Isaac, I'll go to you first on this. What were your impressions, and what do you want to see in the last month and a half of the season from Jesus Sanchez?
Well, I think they got to be, happy with the way he performed in his time this year so far, coming off of 1 for 25, I think it was, in his taste of the big leagues last year. They got to be happy. The power showed up. The discipline, obviously, could use a little bit of work, but for the most part, he's having solid at-bats. He's playing a mediocre left field, but I think definitely I don't think he's, solidified a spot as a starting left fielder as of yet. But I think if he has a solid month hitting in the mid-200s and, showing a little bit more power as well, they can pencil him in left field for next year or right field, depending on, who else they get this offseason. But what I want to see from him, advanced plate pitch recognition for sure. And, I want to see the power continue because, that's one of his calling cards. And boy, when he gets into one, they go a long way, as you guys can see. So I'm excited to see him back, and I hope he picks off. I mean, AAA, he was playing fantastic, right? So it doesn't seem COVID slowed him down a little bit, but he'll be great for the next month, I hope.
Yeah, he had a great night last night. He went 2 for 3 with a triple and a couple of walks. Alex, you've watched this guy a bunch. You know, you are our minor league expert, so I'll go to you next. Obviously, today he's back in right field, and that is his natural position. Brian De La Cruz moves over to left field. So why do you think that Jesus profiles better in right field? And then also just what you're looking for based off of what you saw, before he went on the COVID IL.
Yeah, I think it's either way, dude. You can play right field, you can play left field. That is what it is. Kind of like the infield. You can play second base, if you play shortstop, you can play second base. Same thing. So I guess the move just gives more comfort to Jesus because he's played right more than left. I guess would be my only explanation. So yeah, that would be my explanation on that. And yeah, like you said, he's had a great rehab. Was doing everything that we saw him do in AAA to start the year. So it'll be good to see, or it'll be interesting to see how he comes back from this and readjusting to major league pitching after a pretty long layoff. I mean, obviously that was not a small bout of the virus for him. So yeah, I'm interested to see how he readjusts to major league pitching. That's my main thing.
Yeah, it might take a couple of days. Kev, what do you like the move of having De La Cruz, who we all kind of think is a better defender than Jesus Sanchez? Do you like him? That move of having him in left and then letting Jesus patrol his natural right.
I mean, I would have to see tonight how De La Cruz plays, but from what I saw when he was there in right field, man, that guy looked good in right field. He knew what he was doing. He had good defense. He had the speed. Jesus wasn't horrible in left field, but he wasn't great. I mean, he did what he had to do in left field. I would say he was mediocre there. I want to see what Jesus does in right field and then what Brian De La Cruz does in left. And then I can really say I like the move or I don't. Initially, I'm a little bit shocked that they put De La Cruz in left this time around after how good he's been defensively for this team. I mean, you just have to see the plays for yourself when you talk about this guy playing in right field.
Yeah, he was fantastic out there. And Daniel, you want to pop in?
Yeah, I want to mention something really quick, kind of like what Kevin went on. Manley today mentioned about Alfaro, and he wants to see Alfaro play first base when days that maybe Aggie is having an off day. And he really put in, and he mentioned guys like Chris Taylor could play all the diamond, Chris Bryant, just guys like that. And he wants to see more of that out of some of the guys. And that's why he wants to put Alfaro on first base.
I'm sorry, bro. Why?
Hold on. No, I'm taking this one. I'm taking this one. Time out. I'm taking this one.
Decorum.
I'm taking this one.
Go ahead.
Why is this organization so bad at player comps? Why are we so bad at player comps?
No, what I just don't understand, like, I cannot wrap my head around a comparison of Chris Bryant and Chris Taylor to Jorge Alfaro. I just
they have an unhealthy need for some reason that I can't put my head around why they need to put Alfaro in the like they're trying so hard.
I think they mentioned how he wants a whole bunch of guys who can play almost all around the diamond, guys who can play multiple positions. He mentioned Brian, he mentioned Chris Taylor, he meant a guy he really pointed out was Max Muncy, a guy who plays first, can play second. I'm guessing Manley really wants guys who can play multiple positions, and he really sees Alfaro at someone like that, catcher, outfielder, and potentially first base. It just kind of like really shows what Manley really wants from this team and from some of the players.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this can kind of start the discussion that I wanted to go into surrounding Alfaro, because by all accounts, right, all signs kind of point to the fact that he's not going to be around next year, right? I think we're all kind of operating under that assumption currently. And I mean, he's got -3 defensive run saves behind the plate. He's got -14 in his career. He only has one season with a positive defensive run saved. He had -1 defensive run saved in left field, and he played like 5 games out there. He looked like a catcher trying to play left field. Like, that's exactly what he looked like. It's not like he necessarily looked terrible. He just looked like a catcher that's trying to is being forced to play left field. And if they're moving on from him, if he just isn't providing value at the plate, he's not providing value defensively, I just can't understand why they keep running him out there. I just can't wrap my head around it, because we've talked about this. We had a big discussion about it today, Alex. Brian Miller sitting down in AAA, and he was a guy that got a shot for a weekend series. He had 3 at bats. He looked pretty good. He had a base hit. He worked a nice at bat in that Yankee game that I was at. Where has he been? And then you have Bryson Brigman and all these guys that are Rule 5 eligible, right? And they're guys that you don't want to lose necessarily because they can provide value to your organization. And if you're moving on from Alfaro, if you're moving on from Sierra, which we all think they are, and it would make sense that they are if they're trying to really move forward from this era of Marlins baseball, if they're trying to do that, it's time to get peeks at other players. And you have Austin Jackson and you have Sandy Leon that can take up the ABs and the innings behind the plate for Alfaro. So, Alex, you were very passionate about this subject, I know. So, what the hell, man? What the hell?
I don't know. I mean, you guys read everything that I said today to you guys when this came out. The first thing that I noticed that was like, okay, why is that Alfaro is starting this game? Where's Alex Jackson? He just had a day off. We just traded for him. He's hitting the ball hard. What do you have with this guy? Where I want to see him get the reps. You don't want to see this guy sitting on the bench. You can want to see Jorge Alfaro sitting on the bench because he has no future with the Marlins organization. You want to see other guys, maybe not even with the team anymore. I mentioned a couple of them to you guys. Magneuris Sierra, John Birdie, I know he's hurt. Isan Diaz. They refuse to move on from failed experiments. And that's it. They will just not do it. They won't DFA Magneuris Sierra. They won't bench Alfaro. They want to see him at first base. Are you kidding?
I don't get it.
I
don't get it.
So you put him you want him to have eligibility at first base. What happens when Lewin Diaz comes up next year? Are we talking about and maybe Aguilar's still here, maybe not. Whatever. Maybe we get the DH. What happens? Are you giving Alfaro reps over Lewin Diaz at that point?
Yeah,
that's what they're doing.
No clue. I don't know what they're doing. The roster construction conversation just pisses me off, quite frankly. You're looking at losing these guys. Miller's protected because they called him up. Corey Bird protected. They called him up for one game. That's all it takes. They just have to be on the roster for a day and they're protected from the Rule 5. I think they will eventually call them up, but you're not going to see Magneuris Sierra DFA'd. I guarantee it. You won't see him DFA'd. You won't see Jorge Alfaro on the bench. You'll still see Alex Jackson not getting reps in place of Jorge Alfaro. Totally possible. Why that's happening is a big mistake. I don't know why that's happening. That's something you would have to ask Kim and Donnie, but maybe Kim over Donnie. And from Donnie's standpoint, man, just as a last for me on this, the guy's doing the best with what he has.
Yep.
He's trying to run these guys out there as best as he knows how. It's not his fault. And it's on the organizational level. It's Derek Jeter and Kim Hang. This strategy, man, is very confusing. And I hope it gets rectified because this is awful what's happening right now with the roster.
Yeah, I think that, I've obviously been an advocate that I think this organization does a great job for the most part, and some of their roster construction things I get, right? You don't want Lewin Diaz here because you don't want him blocked. You want him playing every day in AAA. But at some point, you do have to evaluate what you have with him, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't do that right now because Aguilar is so valuable to your team. You want to keep Aguilar around next year because the DH is likely coming. He can slot right in at the DH, and Lewin is your everyday first baseman. That one is perfectly fine with me, to be honest. But the other ones just don't make sense, man. Isan, he's been hitting a little better recently, but it's still a lot of swings and misses at pitches way out of the strike zone. It's still a lot of rollovers to first base. For every ball he hits hard in the gap, there's a rollover to first base to go along with it, and so I just don't see steady improvements. Obviously, Brinson really turned the corner. He was good again. He wasn't, he didn't have a great series necessarily, but he had 2 hits on Sunday and a couple hits here and there. He just stayed consistent. He's still doing his thing,
He's making my jersey worth it.
Yeah, exactly. He's making my jersey worth it too. But what were you saying?
You mentioned Lewin Diaz. That one I understand, because the at-bats aren't there for him right now. I get it. And maybe Alfaro makes sense at first base in place of Jesus Aguilar. I would probably play 2 or 3 other guys at first base on the roster rather than Jorge Alfaro, but that is what it is. If they want, the organization loves versatility, and they, for some reason, want to try to get versatility out of Jorge Alfaro, for whatever reason. I don't think he's here next year whatsoever.
Right, that's my thing.
The Lewin thing makes sense. You're correct. What you want to see is these fringe guys that you're risking losing if you don't protect them, and you can't protect them all. They have 4, I would say 3 or 4 guys down there right now you're not going to, with the way this roster is shaping up for next year, with what's going to be ready, you're not going to protect all of Bryson Brigman, Joe Dunand. You're not going to Peyton Henry. You're not going to protect all of them. You're going to have to make some choices, right? So, or just call them up for a day, like I said. But they're not doing it, at least not yet. I mean, hopefully this gets rectified. I really thought that it should have happened before now, honestly, with those guys. But, man, I said it to you guys earlier. If you look at 95% of those guys that are down there right now and that looking at to be Rule 5 eligible or just looking to leave the organization, they have one thing in common, and that's that they were all picked or selected or signed by the old regime. So that's my best answer as to why this is going the way it is, but I hope it gets fixed soon, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, to this to this comment on the screen, this is an interesting one, and Isaac, I just saw you answer it, so I'll let you go ahead. But I mean, what are they showing with Alfaro? They're not necessarily showing anything. They're showing that they got a worse catcher for arguably the best catcher in the league, right?
Right. I mean, if you're trying to find, places for Alfaro to play, if his bat was, producing, then sure. Chris Taylor hits, Max Muncy hits. Those examples that they use, these guys rake. They were all-stars. And with Alfaro, he's literally a negative WAR player. So I don't see what the point is in trying to put him in left field. He's got a cannon of an arm from left field, though. He made a throw on the game that I was covering on Friday night. Holy, that was worth the price of admission. But for real, he putting him at first base, putting him in left field, I don't understand it. And so no, I hope that they're not putting him out there every single day to show that we got a major league caliber catcher for JT, because one, he's not, and two, the real thing was Sixto. So I hope that they're not, affecting the roster based on, how a trade looks, because, we have enough of that going on. But, I hope that's not the case.
It's just interesting to me because, again, if I would understand the positional versatility thing, trying to find some of that, if he were sticking around next year. But by all accounts, he's not sticking around next year. So it's like, why are you trying to make something out of this guy? Unless they're trying to trade him, but I don't know how much trade value he necessarily has. So it's just puzzling to me. But I think the last thing I want to say on this is, like you were kind of talking about, Alex, and like I said, I'm a big advocate of this organization. I think they're doing a good job. I think they've got the right people in the right places. The one thing they really need to do to kind of push them over the top, and this is something that Craig Mish has said, and I echo this completely, they have to kind of start to be ruthless. They have to learn when to cut ties with guys. One thing he always says is, if this was the Rays, all of these guys would be gone right now.
Exactly,
we wouldn't have even seen Brinson turn the corner because he would have been gone a long time ago. Isan would have been gone. Sierra would have been gone. Alfaro would have been gone.
It's worked both ways. Not to cut you off, Ethan. It's worked both ways. They gave us Jesus Aguilar for nothing. So he's done well. So it's worked both ways. But more often than not, they're right. It's these replacement level, or maybe even below replacement level players, as Isaac was saying with Alfaro, and Magneuris Sierra is another one, Isan Diaz, the same names that we keep saying. It's time to just say, okay, you never want to see a guy's dream end. And yes, it sucks from a personal standpoint. This is a business, this is the business of winning baseball games. And they're coming into that window where they want to win baseball games. Are they going to win baseball games with Jorge Alfaro? Highly doubt it. Isan Diaz? Doubt it. Magneuris Sierra? No. So when do they cut them? I honestly, I can't answer that question. I wish I could answer that question, but it's just, I really am doubting that they'll ever just say enough is enough with some of these guys. It's unfortunate.
No, like
I don't think. Go ahead, Isaac.
The Rays are willing to do it, like Alex said, it'll screw them up. Like, they'll mess up sometimes too. They'll get rid of someone, not Aguilar in particular, but they'll get rid of a player and maybe he'll blossom somewhere else. They're willing to take that chance and say, listen, he's not helping us right now. Move on right now. The Marlins won't do that. It's okay if Brinson goes away and becomes Mike Trout somewhere else. But we gave him enough opportunities. He's not doing it here. You gotta have a quick memory and get rid of the guy quick. But they're not willing to do that yet.
When you look at it, if
go ahead.
Alfaro, if one of these guys of Alfaro, Isan Diaz, Magneuris Sierra are on the roster next year, this team isn't trying to win shit. Let's be honest. They aren't trying to win at all. Alfaro should have been cut such a long time ago. I would have gotten rid of him such a long time ago. I don't know what the fuck Sandy Leon's doing on this roster still. Even though he's been good with the pitchers, that's about it. He can't bat. He can't do anything else.
I would have given him till the All-Star break of this year, because 2019 was encouraging, 260, whatever. He had a 730 OPS or whatever it was. 2020, put that in the bag for every player. I would have given him till the All-Star break of this year, and after this, first half, that's when you cut him.
Right, but we've seen enough at this point, right, Kev?
We've
seen enough.
Spring training.
Yeah.
Brian
and-
Miller could be over here right now over Mags. Like, who else? Joe Duran could be over here over who's the other guy? Isan Diaz. You could have Joe Brigman over Isan
Panic.
Diaz or whoever. These guys
Birdie.
are trash. There's no other way to say it. They haven't panned out in the major leagues, and they won't. Just get rid of them. Be a badass and get rid of them. Like, come on. Like, they're not going to do anything. They can't accept that they made a bad trade. That's what's been happening too. That Brewers trade was garbage. There's no other way to put it. Isan Diaz hasn't worked out. Brinson, maybe. Now, maybe. Besides Yamamoto, he's not even on the team anymore. Who's the other one? I'm missing
Monte.
one. I know him. Yeah, Monte.
Monte.
Monte's fighting with Starlin Marte here a couple days before he gets traded. The Marlins aren't going to do anything with those guys. Just get rid of them already, man.
Jesus, Kevin. My
Jesus.
God.
Right.
That's what we're looking for, man. Round of applause for Kevin Burrell. My God. That was a smoking hot take. I love it. Some passion on the stream today. But, I agree with you, Kev. Like, I'm it's time to just kind of go forward. It's time to move on from some of these guys because we've talked about this, with Dela Cruz showing and with Brinson improving, right? Like, they're improving the back end of the roster. And this is the back end of the back end of the roster we're talking about, which is why we might be losing some people here with this discussion about it, but they are improving the back end of the roster and you gotta keep doing it. Brigman, if he comes up and hits, probably not the way he's been hitting in AAA, but serviceably, right? And he looks like he can do it because he's been hitting so well in AAA. That's such an improvement at the back end of your roster, and that's helping. So, this is just the kind of the last thing they have to do. Obviously, they got to make the big acquisitions to get some real star power in this team and to get some really big bats in this team. But one of the other things I would like to see them improve on is being able to just cut ties with these guys. And so the next subject that I want to go into as we move forward is I want to talk to Alex and the rest of you guys as well about what happened in the minor leagues today. So two big name pitching prospects get promoted from Jupiter to Beloit. That's low A to high A. And both of them are under the age of 19. I think a lot of people are starting to have Yuri Perez, just on their radars. They're starting to just take notice of what this kid is doing. And so him and Dax Fulton, a 2020, second round pick, these two guys go up from low A to high A. And Alex, I want you to give me the numbers on what these guys did in their last 2 or 3 starts because they were both lights out in their last couple starts. And then talk to us just about what it shows that the Marlins are willing to promote these guys so quickly. They're 18 and 19 years old.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just ridiculous what Yuri Perez has done all season long. This guy is 4 years younger than his league average competition in low A. And guys can't touch him. They just simply can't touch his stuff. So, man, I'm really excited for that kid. He's the youngest player in minor league baseball, and he's going to be playing at single A advanced. I mean, I don't think that I've ever seen a guy that was already very good from what he was showing in, extended spring or not extended spring training, minor league spring training before he got the assignment, was already showing it. I did notice a couple things that maybe he could clean up. I mentioned these before. Repeatability was one. Effort on all of his pitches was another one that I looked at and said, okay, he's slowing down his arm speed on the breaking pitch versus speeding it up on the fastball. And, more advanced hitters are going to pick up on that, of course, and especially at higher levels of the minor league. So I went and watched him the other night, guys, in Jupiter, and I didn't see any of that. He's throwing everything now at the same arm speed. Stuff is fantastic. It's 4 pitches. Velo's up to like 97 at times. He'll touch 97, usually sits like 95. Power sinker baller. Man, so excited for that guy. And he deserves it. I mean, this is another big challenge for him, but he answered his last challenge as best as he could, and more. And, now he's up in Beloit. So that's awesome. The other part with this for me is that we'll get to see some of these like 23, 24-year-old guys that they have at high A with like Antonio Velez, George Soriano, some deeper down names that maybe people listening to this don't care about, but they'll get their chance to go up to Double A, which I think is necessary. You'll probably see Will Stewart, is my guess, go up to Triple A.
Yeah,
he's been okay, kind of been up and down. And Dax Fulton, it's up and down for him. I mean, obviously this is a guy that missed a lot of the start of the year. He was still struggling with injury. We also know he underwent surgery. So, that's a guy that that it's been up and down. That one surprised me a lot. They both surprised me, but the Dax Fulton one surprised me a little more. He's been good in his last couple starts, though. I think he had like a 10 or 11 that was really good. So, yeah, it's exciting to see those guys, as my buddy Daniel calls them, the teenage Twin Towers. Get that trending on Twitter, by the way, for us. That's really exciting. And if you live in Wisconsin or Beloit, man, go watch those kids because they're really good and they have a big future of the Marlins or in baseball as a whole.
Isaac, Yuri Perez has to be a top 100 prospect sometime soon, right? I mean, 18 years old, ERA under 2, dominating the way he is. Like, this has got to be a guy that people have to start taking notice of, right?
Yeah, I'd say if he goes up, to a high A and performs well, he doesn't have to, be as dominant as he was, in his previous level. But if he holds his own up there, his age, his height, his stuff, his strikeout numbers, he's 100% got to be maybe an untouchable, in trade talks, and also a top 100 prospect. And, I'm sure Fangraphs or Baseball America or MLB.com will definitely have him on the top 100 because he's more than shown that he's quality over that.
Boy, we can talk about that Baseball America ranking. That was something crazy today. They ranked the Marlins with the 12th best farm system in baseball. They say they apparently had a mix-up where they say that Eddie Cabrera and Max Meyer haven't performed to their they're underwhelming. They haven't performed to their stats, which, Max Meyer has an ERA of 2, and Eddie dominated Double-A, and he's been really good in Triple-A. Had 12 strikeouts last time out, which is just what he does. So, Noah, I'll go to you here. When you see, Eddie Cabrera, Max Meyer, Jake Eater, these are the guys we always talk about, but then Yuri Perez, Dax Fulton, some of the guys at the lower levels that are dominating so much, how that excitement as you watch another layer and wave of talent work their way through the organization.
Yum. That's all I have to say. It's all I have to say. All I have to say is yum. Let's get them going. Let's
it'll obviously
build up. Let's get them going, and because if we can get them all up as soon as possible, this team can be scary.
Yeah, and obviously, with these guys, it'll probably take another couple of years. But, I mean, if you're looking at Yuri Perez, Sixto Sanchez debuted at 21 years old, I think. And, he was either 21 or 22. But if you're debuting since, well, we all know the injury situation there. But, if you're talking about Yuri Perez and Dax Fulton, guys that are 18, 19 years old, and they're already at, high A, I mean, that's just a huge vote of confidence for those guys. And if they can perform at that level, I mean, that's even more so. So, all right, let's see. We got 20 minutes until first pitch here. This is usually when we kind of start moving towards what's going on around this series. So, Daniel Rodriguez, you are on site. You are in the press box. You are down on the field today. The Braves are in town. They are red hot. What's the feeling going on around the club right now? And just what were your takeaways from being down on the field today?
Good there. I mean, just a small ball that I saw out is like he is jacked. It's just it's bombs player. I mean, I thought I was guided. It was just incredible.
I want to see. Hold on, Daniel. I gotta cut you
that the whole thing
down, and we can't really make out what's going on. You sound, just mute your mic for a sec, man. I don't know what's going on there, but sorry, man. We tried. I think he was trying to talk about Duvall and Jorge Soler. Is Jorge Soler a Brave?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yes, he's in the lineup.
He's a Brave now? When did that happen? I had no idea that Jorge
He was
Soler
traded
was
at
a
the
Brave.
deadline. He was traded at the deadline.
I knew they got Jock. I remember when they got Jock, but he's huge. Okay, and Adam Duvall obviously is in town, and this is where I want to pivot to next, because here he comes. He's hitting 200 since the deadline. He's walking at a rate we've never seen from him before, and he's striking out at less than 30%, which for Adam Duvall is absolutely outrageous. Obviously, he's got 26 home runs on the year. He had 22 of them with the Marlins. He's got 4 since he was traded from the Atlanta Braves. So, Isaac, we talked about this earlier. here he comes. He just seems to be one of those revenge guys, right? Like he killed the Braves this year. So you got to imagine that he's just coming in ready to just kill the Marlins, right?
Yeah, I would say he's coming in here with vengeance. He's such a nice guy. I don't think, that's even on his mind. I think he just wants to help his team win. But I see him. The over-under, what did we say it was, 2.5 on home runs in this series?
Yeah,
2.5. I'm smashing the over, unfortunately. So no, he's a great player. He's walking a ton, like you said, which is impressive for him. And he's not striking out as much. He's not hitting for a ton of average, but that's never been his game either. But he's getting on base, so I see him maybe blowing up a little bit this series. A ton of strikeouts, maybe, and a couple of home runs.
The last time the Braves were here, we kind
me?
of saw. Yeah, we can hear you now, Daniel. Go ahead, man.
Perfect. Okay. Oh, well, I was just mentioning Jorge Soler was just hitting like the entire batting practice. Ozzy Albies was there, just looked great. And I was also looking. Ron Washington is the third base coach of the Braves. I saw that and I was like, that's just really it was crazy. And just the Braves look like they're coming to play. Like they look focused. It wasn't much playing around in batting practice, and they look laser focused on this series. It's just really incredible when you have a team like this in first place in the division. They're coming here, and I don't think they're looking here to play games. They're coming. They're coming to win this series. It looked like that from the field.
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the Braves here, and the first thing I'll say is Ron Washington, the one person that I've been like really starstruck by from being down on the field this season, besides maybe like Albert Pujols, the one person that really caught me off guard, I was like, wow, that's Ron Washington. Like that was kind of crazy to me. So, but speaking of the Braves, like talking about the determination they come in with, they are red hot right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've taken over first place in the division. The last time the Marlins saw them, was right around the All-Star break, and they were just it was right before the All-Star break or right after the All-Star break. I can't remember, but they were just kind of hanging around, not really going anywhere. They were sitting in like third place in the division, 4 or 5 games out of the Mets. And, I was just kind of saying, like, everybody was counting the Braves out. And in the back of my head, I was like, this team's got to get hot eventually, right? Like, they just have too much talent to get hot. And when at the deadline, when they went out and got Jock Peterson, and apparently they got Jorge Soler as well. They made some other acquisitions, on offense to deal with the loss of Ronald Acuna Jr. Everybody was kind of saying, "Well, what are you doing? You don't have Acuna. You're a bit out of it." And they've proved everybody wrong, and all of a sudden they are red hot. Like I said, they're 8-2 in their last 10, and I mean they're starting to take control of this division. They've got a game lead over the Phillies. The Mets are slipping, and they're in the midst of they just got swept by the Dodgers. Now they have to go out to San Francisco and play the Giants, who are the best team in the league. Then they've got to go down to LA to play the Dodgers again, and then they come back home, and who's waiting for them except the best team in the league, the San Francisco Giants again. So Kevin, all of a sudden it's looking like this might be the Braves division to lose, right?
Yeah, some way, somehow, the Braves always manage a way to get into that first place spot. And they did it by one way, getting depth on that team. I mean, Jorge Soler, you mentioned, Jock Peterson. They lost Ronald Acuna. They went out there and they found guys that could help them and produce maybe that bad.
Did they get, sorry, Kev, to cut you off, did they get Eddie Rosario too, right, from the Indians?
Yeah, they got him also. They're loaded, especially on the bench.
Crazy, but go ahead, Kevin.
They got different players to get the production that Acuna does. That's something that not many teams do, like the Oakland A's that I've heard about, run the Moneyball.
Yeah, it sounds like I was gonna say it sounds like the Moneyball where they had to replace Giambi with 3 guys, but
yeah, that's it all. The Braves somehow found a way to get back up in first place. They got the Mets at the right time. Now when they're slipping, they're the ones rising up. They're red hot. Miami usually tends to play good against the Braves, but I think I can't say that anymore after the team we have rolling out there every day, especially against the team that's 8-2 in their past games. The Braves are a good team, man. They got the pitching. Even though they don't have Soroka, if I'm correct right now, I think he's done for now. But they always find a way. Their bullpen isn't the greatest either. Now they have Adam Duvall again, where Adam Duvall had one hell of a season with the Braves in 2020. So something worth to mention there. Braves are a great team. They always find a way to get up there, even though we all hate them. But we have to admit they're a good team.
Yeah, it's a great organization. Obviously, they have to, in order to have won this many division titles and been, the class of the division for so long. Mattingly always talks about how they are the standard, they are the measuring stick in the division. The Marlins have played the Braves well this year. In fact, they come into this series with a winning record against the Braves. They're 7-6. They have 6 more games against the Braves. If they split those games, they manage to split them. As long as they don't do any worse than splitting the series, they will win the season series the rest of the way home. So, Isaac, what do the Marlins kind of have to do to compete? Because obviously we know that the bullpen is kind of the weakness. You have Tuki Tucson, Huascar Inoa, I think that's how you say his name, Huascar Inoa, and then Charlie Morton, who is a Marlin killer, it seems like. But just your thoughts coming into this series about how the Marlins can stay competitive with this team.
I mean, what pops off the page for me are the pitching matchups. Honestly, Noah's had a hell of a year for the Atlanta Braves, and he goes up against Sandy tomorrow. It's a 3-game series, so I'm hoping they take 2 out of 3. And then on Wednesday, you have Luzardo coming back after that nightmare of a start on Friday night, and he'll go up against, Uncle Charlie. So what stands out to me is the pitching. I think we're going to have to outpitch him really well because, we're not going to out-hit him. Hopefully Brinson stays hot. They gave him a huge vote of confidence, putting him in the 3 spot. But yeah, to me, it's just pitching like it is with this ball club. And hopefully Luzardo settles down a little bit. Sandy's going to be Sandy. And tonight, who's going tonight for Braxton Garrett? So we'll see what we get from him as well.
So let's talk about Luzardo, Alex. I'll go to you because it was a weird start. He lets up a lot of hard contact. I think he let up like 4 or 5 runs. But he had some good moments. So the Marlins, he gives out the lead early, but the Marlins take back the lead with that monster 11, second inning that we talked about. But after that, he was kind of rolling, and then late on he let up a couple more home runs. So what is it again that he needs to do to improve this time out?
Yeah, I say it over and over again, and maybe I sound like I'm repeating myself because I definitely am. But it's repeatability. It's all I see, dude. It's just hitting his release points, letting the changeup do the work, I think is a big thing for him. His changeup is good and shows that it can be really good, but he overgrips it at times and overthrows it and spikes it. So, and then if it hangs up, it gets hit hard. It's unfortunate. His sinker's good too. It's good movement on the sinker, but also if it hangs up, it gets hit. So again, it's just finding the consistency, finding the consistent command, and just repeating, and that's what it's going to be for this guy. This was kind of expected by me, and probably a few others, that he's going to go through struggles. Especially coming to a brand new organization. He's with Mel, of course, which will expedite this process for sure, because Mel and this pitching development staff we hear about all the time are amazing. The work they've done with other pitchers, we've talked about that on previous shows. It's going to happen with Luzardo, but guys and everybody that's listening, just be patient with him. Definitely has all the stuff in the world, all the talent in the world. He just needs to fix it. And, he's fixing it now in a lost season. That's the main point. Then just a quick thing for me on the Braves. Isaac was mentioning it. I know you asked about Luzardo, but just to mention, this is a team, as Kevin said, that went out and shored up at the trade deadline. And in the absence of Ronald Acuna, they get, all these guys you just mentioned, Adam Duvall included. And then they're getting healthy now. Like Huascar Inoa, this is his first start since May, I think, right? Coming up.
Yep.
So they're getting healthy at the right time. Tuki Tucson was also
dangerous.
That guy's got freaking gas. I covered him in high school. He went to Carl Springs Academy. He throws freaking fire, dude. So the Marlins have a task in this series cut out for them with those 2 pitchers. Hopefully they take it to Charlie Morton in the 3rd game, but we'll see.
I really enjoyed watching Noah enjoy the national anthem. I think that was the best part of the stream today.
I didn't even have my camera on.
I thought that was wonderful, just seeing up in the corner with the anthem going on. But anyway, let's kind of start moving into prediction time. And, or Alex, I want one more question from you just real quick.
Yeah.
Luzardo, can you see him kind of being the odd man out and it being a good idea to send him back to AAA once Pablo, Trevor, or some of these other guys kind of work their way back? Can you see him being the odd man out and it's a good idea for him to go down and work with the development staff, maybe even go to Jupiter and get some work down there?
I think it's definitely possible. What I think he really needs is consistency, man.
Yeah.
He needs to be around the same coaches. He needs to be on the same schedule. He needs to be pitching every day. And I think he's in the best spot with Mel. That's what I think. Is it possible that with all of these guys coming back that, he may, have to go back because of traffic? Yes, definitely possible. Honestly, what I would probably do if it's me in this scenario, I really want to just see him getting those consistent innings, like I said, at the major league level. I think that's what's going to help him the most before next season. Because if you send him to AAA, obviously you're facing lesser competition. He's been at AAA most of the year. So he knows those guys a bit better than major league guys. But I want to see him get this fixed at the major league level because honestly, I'm not going to say he couldn't fix it at the minor league level because he probably could. I just think he has a better chance to do so with the big league team. And in a lost season, man, that's what you want to do is you want to fix guys and get them in the right shape going into 2022, especially if you want to compete. So honestly, I'd probably move Eliezer to the bullpen. That's
interesting.
When everybody's healthy.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would do personally, but I think it's possible to answer your question.
I think Thompson is another option because I think his cutter would just play better there. But I definitely think that Luzardo, it's just about patience with him and just kind of letting him work out the kinks. And it's not going to happen right away. We all said when the Marlins, made the trade, everybody was like, okay, we got to be patient with this guy and let it play out. Let the Marlins get a hold of him. And I think it'll really be time to make pass judgment on him, at the in the off season and beyond, because I think that's when he'll really get a good work in. So
and extremely quickly,
go ahead.
It makes all the sense in the world to put Eliezer in the bullpen. He's injury prone. It makes sense for him to pitch maybe an inning or two. I mean, it might injure him, but it's not going to injure him every time he gets on the mound. I don't blame him for the injuries. The last one was absolute BS with the DH, but that's another conversation. It makes all the sense for Elias. I mean, his trade value isn't very high right now, especially after all his injuries. The Marlins, if they want to look to trade him, maybe get his value up through the bullpen, it might work. And it's going to help the bullpen because that bullpen is not too good right now. So
the last thing
maybe
I'll
middle of the game reliever. Yeah.
The last thing I'll say, Ethan, before you move on, because I know you got 7 minutes. Some of these guys are going to get shut down, right?
Yeah.
So I think Trevor is a definite possibility, especially after what's going on right now. I mean, I hope to see him at least back, for 1 or 2 more starts this year. But I think he's going to get shut down. Is it a great? I guess this is another conversation. But after all this time off that he's had, what does he miss now? 2 going on 3 starts, I think. Is it the best choice to have him come back and work his arm back up? I don't know. Personally, I'd err on the side.
I thought about that.
Just my point is, guys are going to get shut down. So maybe that question with Luzardo doesn't come into play. Anyways,
yeah, and just a last touch on Eliezer, goes 5 innings, and haven't really seen him work 6 innings a lot. He has a high ERA in the 6th inning, and he gets into the 6th inning, gets 1 out, and lets up a home run. So it's that could be another argument for him going to the bullpen. But all right, it is prediction time. Noah, you're there. And it's going to get loud because first pitch is coming. So real quickly, let me hear your prediction for the series.
Super loud.
I think we take 2 out of 3.
All right. 2 out of 3 from ever optimist Noah. Daniel Rodriguez, give me your prediction.
I think I'm getting my 5th win tonight, but overall, I think it's going to be 1-2 Marlins. And quick plug, you mentioned Charlie Morton. That was the guy I was able to secure an interview with. So I'll put that up. It's a really good time, but I 1-2 Marlins. They're only taking 1 of the whole series.
That's awesome, Daniel. And Daniel is going for a 5th straight win while credentialed tonight. So that is something to look out for there. Kevin Barral, your prediction.
It is a hard one. I'm going to say Marlins get 1 out of 3. They win the Sandy start. They could really win this one tonight, but I don't know. It's going to be hard to see what happens. I think Marlins take 1 out of 3, though. Luzardo could have a good game, though.
Isaac, go ahead.
I don't know why. I'm smelling another sweet here. I'm sniffing a bit of a sweet. Braxton will show up a little bit today. Sandy will dominate, and Luzardo will have his best start as a Marlin on Wednesday.
All right, Isaac going off the beaten path.
I don't like the praise.
I like it. No, I like it. I like it.
7 straight wins, boys. Let's make it 7 straight wins.
I'll say this: the Marlins, they take their game to a different level against the Braves. They have played the Braves really well this year.
They play up.
Yeah, they do play up to the Braves. That's undeniable, and we'll see if they have enough firepower with the Braves being so hot. But I it's within the realm of possibility. Alex, go ahead.
I'm going to agree with Daniel and say 1 of 2 or 1 of 3. Excuse me, 1 and 2. I guess would be the record. It's tough matchups with Inoa. It's tough matchups for the offense with Inoa, and if Tukey is at his best, the guy can rack up strikeouts. So, those are both tough matchups. The game that I would point to and say that I would love to see them win would be the one with Luzardo. I would love to see what Isaac said and see him do well and bounce back. I think the realistic case is that they're going to find a way to win the Sandy start, even though Noah, this is his first start back, was out for a while after he broke his hand or whatever, punching something, which was stupid. But anyways, I think it's I think it's one of three, with the only win being the Sandy game against the Noah, if they can score.
I think he pulled an Amari Stoudemire and punched a fire extinguisher. It was either the fire extinguisher or the fire alarm thing or whatever. But
between him and Ozuna, that team had some stupid scenarios.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, unbelievable. But anyway, looking at this series, I'm going to go 1 for 2. I think Luzardo pitches well, but I don't think the Marlins get a win in that game. I think he's going to kind of settle down a little bit and just either the bullpen or something, or he'll give up a couple runs or whatever. I don't see them winning that game, but I think he'll pitch well. I'm going to say they win the Sandy start. Sandy looked great last time out, and he's just an ace, and he comes to play when he needs to. And look, if they get swept, they've got no chance of winning that season series, and I think that's something that they want to do. They want to win that season series, so I think that they give themselves a chance to do it tonight or this series with 1 win, and then they can win 2 of the last 3. All right, 3 minutes until first pitch, wrapping up a little early today. Went a little long last time. So for Noah, for Kevin, for Isaac, for Alex, for Daniel, for Eli, all of us here at Fish Stripes, I'm Ethan Badowski. I'll be at the game tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. Enjoy the series, and as always, go Fish.